Hello YouTube, Captain Mac here, and welcome to the next episode in our series on unusual, difficult, and dangerous approaches. And what you're looking at in the background right now is my departure from TJSJ, and it's going to be a short hop in this 777 over to, you guessed it, TNCM. I think I got that right. St. Maarten, TNCM? TNCM. Can't think right now. There's a shocker. Real short flight. We're not actually going to be recording the flight today. The purpose of this obviously is to cover the approach. And the approach into St. Maarten, of course, it's a famous approach, flies right over the beach there. But it is also an unusual approach, especially depending on which direction you're coming from. And you're going to see that here in just a minute when we do the approach briefing. So, hang on to your seats, ladies and germs. Let's hop on over here to our awesome Lido chart and take a look at how we're going to be flying the approach in the St. Maarten today. Alright, so let's take a look at this approach that we're going to be flying today. St. Maarten uses what is called a DME Arc for the approach, and that's part of the reason that I chose this airport, because a DME Arc is, you know, it's interesting, it's unusual, it's difficult to fly this approach. The runway is relatively short too, which is going to make this all kinds of fun since we're flying it in a 777. And then St. Maarten's going to set us up for our next couple of flights in this series as well. But this is a really cool approach, and I wanted to show you guys a good DME arc, so it only makes sense to do it here at St. Maarten because it's such a famous airport. Now, we're coming from this general direction over here, but instead of flying a straight-in approach, which does nothing for us as far as learning anything and getting a good experience out of a fun approach here, we're going to come up around the top, and we're going to enter at Trinky. You have to excuse me, I'm still trying to get this junk out of my lungs here. So we're going to come in at Trinky, we're going to come down here, and then we're going to hang a right, and we're going to get onto this DME arc. A DME arc just means a set distance. I'm sorry, I keep clearing my throat there. It's a set distance from a specific navigation aid. In this case, it's a VOR, St. Maarten VOR, okay, which is PJM is the title for, or is the three-letter, I guess that's the IATA code maybe? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong there. But anyway, St. Maarten or PJM VOR is where we're measuring our distance off of. And basically, no matter where you come in from, you're not landing from this side. You have to land on runway 10. You can take off on the other runway, but you have to land on runway 10 because of all these mountains here. There's no approaches as far as I can tell, at least not for a large aircraft, on the other runway here. But the way a DME Arc works is it uses that navigation aid, in this case a VOR, and you use that to maintain a set distance until you get to a certain point, in this case Aluba. So we come in at Trinky and we hang a right here, and we have to stay 10 nautical miles from PJM at 1,600 feet. That's what we're looking at here. So we have a waypoint here, and two waypoints here. But none of these are in the database. So if I use just the database in my flight management computer, I'd come from Trinky direct to Aluba and then hang a left to get on course. But if I do that, it's going to cut across this DME arc, and we're not going to be flying it properly. So I have to program in custom waypoints for each of these points along the arc. And I could even put more in there if I wanted to. I could measure a radial here, and I could put in another waypoint there to make it round off a little bit more. I'm not going to do that. I've gone ahead and programmed in this waypoint, and this waypoint. And then while we're in the aircraft, I'm going to program in this waypoint so that you can see how to do it in the PMDG. It's really very simple, but if you don't know how to do it, then you don't know how to do it. Now, what's going to happen is when we turn right here, we're going to cut across this a little bit. We're probably going to come inside that 10 nautical miles, and that's all right. I would say that a good experienced pilot could probably fly this within a quarter mile. We're going to shoot to stay within 1 mile either side of this DME arc. We're also going to be using the autopilot to fly it because I'm not that great in a 777 right now. I don't have a lot of time in it. It's not like the 737 where I can hand fly it relatively easily. I don't have any struggles hand flying that 737. But the 777, it's a different story. I don't have a lot of time flying it, so I don't want to try and fly this thing by hand and kind of bouncing all over the place, fighting with altitudes, fighting with whether or not I'm within that 10 nautical miles, and so on. So we're going to use the autopilot to fly it. That's going to cut us across here a little bit and across here a little bit, but I think we're going to have no difficulty staying within 1 nautical mile of, oh, my brain just went blank, 1 nautical mile of this arc here. So we'll come in here, we'll hang a right, we'll fly around here to this waypoint. We do have a waypoint programmed in here because Trinky's way up here somewhere, and if we went just from Trinky to here, then we're not really following that DME arc there either. So we'll hang a right, follow it around, hit each of these waypoints all the way down until we get to Aluba. When we get to Aluba, our initial fix, we're going to hang a left to 09 or 6 degrees, still at 1,600 feet down to De Beer, and then from De Beer on in. Now this is a visual approach. It is a VOR approach, but you're flying it visually. The VOR gives us lateral navigation, all right? But as far as vertical navigation is concerned, we're going to have to deal with that on our own. So we know between Aluba and De Beer, we need to be at 1,600, and that's the same altitude we need to be at all the way around this DME arc. All right, so let's go down here and take a look at what else we got going on. Excuse me. All right. First of all, let's look at our runway. We've got this 100 here. This is an offset threshold. So there's 2,200 meters of landing runway available, but there's actually 2,300 meters of runway total. This displaced or offset or displaced, I don't care which one you use. I believe the correct term though is displaced. This displaced threshold is because of that approach. You come in over the beach and you come in really low, you can't land on this first 100 meters. You have to land beyond it. So that's something to keep in mind. 3-degree glide slope as usual. No slope to the runway. It's FSX, so it's going to be flat anyway, even though we do have a fantastic add-on scenery for this airport. All right, De Beer, 1,600 feet. That's our final approach fix, and that's also our descent point. Staying at 096 degrees, we're going to continue to descend from there. When we get 2 nautical miles out from PJM, if we don't have eyes on the runway, we're going to execute the missed approach procedure. How does that go about? Missed approach procedure is an immediate right turn to 180 degrees, and then at 2,600 feet, we're going to execute a left turn to come back around. Now we need to stay within 10 nautical miles of PJM. So when we get to 2,600 feet, when we start this left turn, we need to make sure we're still within 10 nautical miles of the St. Maarten VOR. Then we're going to fly that left turn. We're going to come all the way around and fly direct to PJM, climbing to 4,000 feet. That's all it gives us. It doesn't give us a hold, and it doesn't show a hold on here. So my guess is it's simply assuming that ATC is going to tell you where to go from there. But most likely, if we have to fly this missed approach, when we get to PJM, we'll hang a left on the 318-degree radial, descend back down to 1,600 feet, and we'll fly the DME arc again to come back around and try it again. And that is our approach into St. Maarten today. Everybody loves this airport. I figure even though it's not that difficult, it is a little unusual, and you can't do a series like this without flying into St. Maarten, right? So what do you say we hop on in the aircraft, and let's see how well we can pull this sucker off. All right, real quick, while we're en route here, I want to go ahead and show you how to put in that waypoint. You remember we put in 3 of them. I actually put in 4. I put in one in between the 004 radial and the 318 radial. I put another one in there. It's really easy to do, so I'm going to show you how to do the last one right now. We hop over here. You want to pull up your legs page, and these are the waypoints I already put in. All right, so these are custom waypoints. You're not going to find these in the database. These aren't in the database. You got to put these in yourself. And you can see I left a blank in here. So PJM 04 is the 294 degree radial. All right, and if we click on that, you can see right here PJM 294 010. That's the 10 nautical miles. Let me show you how we set that up real quick. Move this up just a little bit so you can see it better. Clear all that out. Alright, so after this one, we want to hit the 288 degree radial, and then from there to Aluba. So we're going to type in our reference point, which is the PJM VOR, or the St. Maarten VOR. So we're going to type in PJM We don't need the frequency for it, just PJM, and then the radial we want to be from it, no spaces or anything. So we're going to be on the 288 degree radial, 288, then a slash, and then how far we want to be. So in this case it's 10 nautical miles, so 10. Once we've done that, we're going to click on the line select key next to where we want to enter that waypoint, right there. Alright, so if I pop this up and go to plan view, alright, let me zoom it down for you here. Alright, so this is the one we just put in, 05. PJM 05 is right there, and they're really close together, and you may recall that from looking at the, my brain doesn't want to work now, from looking at the approach chart. You remember those last two were really close together, and then from there we want to go to Aluba. So before I hit execute, I can just click the line select key next to Aluba. It copies it down into the scratch pad, and then just select or click on the line select key next to PJM 05. And you can see it puts that white dotted line there to connect them now. That's good. Now we hit execute and that line turns magenta. So now our autopilot will fly this all the way around. And you can see here, if we step through this, there's that first waypoint, 004. And then I put in an extra one in here just to round it off. I didn't want it to go straight down here. I want to try and maintain that 10 nautical miles distance from the PJM VOR. So I just threw an extra one in there using the exact same process I just used. I just picked the 340 degree radial in this case. And then we continue on around until we get to Aluba. Excuse me. There's Aluba, and then we'll be in on our approach from there. Alright, and you can see that we've got 1,600 feet programmed in here. Let's go back to the previous page again. 1,600 feet starting at PJM 01. That's our first waypoint there. That's where we want to be at 1,600 feet. And we'll be starting our descent here shortly, and then it just follows it around. Easy enough. So that's how you enter a custom waypoint into a any Boeing style FMC. So for the PMDG NGX, this works exactly the same. So there you go. I'm going to pause the video for a minute, and I will hop back on here once we're past Trinky and on our way to that first custom waypoint. So we'll see you there. Alright folks, we've already passed Trinky, and we're just about to our first custom waypoint, as you can see right here. Now I could switch my navigation radios to show, rather than showing distance to our waypoint, to show the distance from the VOR. But I'm not going to do that because we're using the autopilot to fly it. Now if I was going to fly this by hand, I wouldn't want this waypoint showing up on there. I'd want to set it to show my VOR. Alright, so we're just about at our altitude as well. We want to be at 1,600 feet, and probably when we get to our second or third waypoint here is when we're going to go ahead and slow down a little bit more, bring in the landing gear. We're going to be landing at 137 knots. That's our VREF speed. 2,500. Anyway. Looks like the wind finally died off. It's a little bit frustrating because my active sky, for whatever reason, just decided to crap out. So that's why you see the altimeter set at standard 29902, blah, blah. It is what it is. So coming in here on this first waypoint, we'll be making a right turn here shortly. And then, as you can see, we're just going to follow this DME arc around and line up with the runway here. And we're going to let the autopilot do most of the work, but once we get close to that final approach point, which is at De Beer, then we're going to go ahead and turn off the autopilot, and I'm going to try not to crash the airplane into the ocean. So now we're starting to make our turn here. Now the autopilot is very efficient at this. That's part of the reason I want to do it. As I mentioned earlier, I'm no master of the 777, so better off letting the autopilot do the work here than trying to do it myself. Now for some reason it just went below the prescribed altitude. See that? That was kind of weird. Why did it do that? Let's see here. Boy, my autopilot's acting up and everything. Alright, let's hold it right there. We're actually just a little low at the moment. What is going on? Turn the VNav back on. It shouldn't be descending at all. It should be just sitting there. We're actually low already, which I don't understand why. Take that back off, back down to 200. Boy, this thing's just been acting. I had to do a repair on the install. I've just been having nothing but problems with my FSX lately. I'll tell you what, it's just getting a little bit ridiculous. Alright, I think we're set now. We are a little low. We're at about 1,500 feet. It looks like it's trying to get back up to 1,600. I have no idea why it suddenly decided once it hit 1600 to take a nosedive, but we're just going to deal with it. Let's keep moving on. You can see we're on our DME Arc now. We're just passing our second waypoint, our custom waypoint now, and if we look over here, we should see, we had a little stutter there. There's the airport over there. Alright, let's take a look at the frame rates real quick, because yeah, frame rates are really low right now, which is crummy. Because I've got a really good system, and I have no idea why those frame rates are so low. But anyway, I apologize for low frame rates. I hope it doesn't get too choppy on final approach, because that would suck. Let's see, what else? Not much else here. This is all about flying the DME Arc. That's the key here. And again, we could have flown it by hand, but I'm not very good at flying this airplane by hand right now. It is a big beast, and it does it handles really well. But it's fly-by-wire, and it's an early fly-by-wire system. It's really good. In fact, I know a couple guys who've flown these, and they loved them. So it's just something I'm not totally used to. I'm used to the fly-by-wire and Airbus, but theirs is a little different than this one. So just something I need to adjust to and get better at before I try to make a video where I'm hand flying a 777 on a DME Arc. Alright, we're going to use auto brakes 3 because it's not a very long runway. And I think we're at the point where we can go ahead and bring that landing gear down now. What do you think? No, let's slow down a little more first. I'm going to bring this speed down to 180 knots. Everything else is looking good. Again, we're just a little low for whatever reason. The autopilot went bonkers on us. This thing is clearly on its own program. That tends to happen to me quite a bit, but it is what it is. Now, I do have the add-on for St. Martin. Getting all kinds of... Somebody said something to do with one of my settings is what makes those pop up. So I'm going to have to look at that and maybe make a change to it. But it is what it is. Welcome to the wonderful world of FSX. I really, really hope this doesn't get very choppy, because if it does, I'm going to have to redo the video. I don't think I can do a really choppy landing. This is already difficult. So, as you can see, we got plenty of speed room here. Technically, that's our minimum speed for flaps 1 that we're coming up on right now. We're at flaps 15. I'm going to go ahead and lower the landing gear now. Remember now, our V approach speed is, or our V ref speed is 137. We're very light. This was a very short flight. If anybody paid attention to the route as I laid it out, it's a very, very short flight. It's like 100 nautical miles total, so it took like no time at all in this aircraft. We got to top a climb, and we were at top of descent like almost immediately. Okay, we just passed our final custom waypoint. We're coming up on Aluba now. And as you can see, it's just going to kind of continue to circle left here and line up with the 096 degree radial. So let's go ahead and bring our speed all the way down to, let's do VREF plus 20. So 157 for now. Get that speed down a little more. We'll bring in another setting of flaps here. Okay, there's flaps 20. In fact, we can go even one more set. 25, coming all the way around now, looking good. Gears down. Let's go ahead and arm the spoilers. Spoilers are armed. Speed brake is the proper term, I suppose. Spoiler, speed brake, they're the same thing. Alright, looking good. I like the speed. You can see we're obviously low right now. We've got nothing but red lights. Remember, there's PAPI lights on both sides of the runway. Definitely a little bit of chop in there. I'm not liking it. Let's hope this holds out. Not liking that at all. That's very frustrating. I really, really hope this doesn't get very choppy. This is supposed to be an optimized scenery for frame rate, so I guess we're gonna find out for sure here pretty soon, aren't we? Alright, next is De Beer. We've crossed the Luba on to De Beer, which is our final approach fix at 1600. We're actually going to overfly it a little bit before we take off the autopilot and start our descent. I'm going to slow us all the way down now to 137. I'm going to leave the auto throttle on until just before landing, most likely. And let's go ahead and pull flaps now. Alright. Speed's coming in nicely. Everything's looking good so far, except that we're just a shade low. Like I said, we're going to let it overfly De Beer a little bit. We're going to keep an eye. We've got plenty of visibility because my active sky's acting up. It's just, you know, basically clear weather out here, which is whatever. It's the Caribbean. The weather's clear most of the time, right? And yep, we're almost on top of it, so we don't have to worry about visibility or anything like that. It's completely a visual approach, so I'm just watching my PAPI lights there. You can see, looks like we've got 1 white on each side and 3 red, so we just want to get a little bit further down here, and then we're going to go ahead and kick off that autopilot. And I've turned it to just a 1-click function, so I don't have to click it twice and get that stupid alarm to turn off, because that's annoying. So let me go ahead and turn on my track IR here. There she is. We're looking pretty good. I think we could probably bring the autopilot off now, or at least here in a second. Looks like we're offset a little, which makes sense actually, because the VOR is, there it is. Let's take that off. We want to go down, not up. The VOR, what is going on? Down. Oh, it didn't want to descend for some reason. Turn those off. Yeah, I know they're off. Okay. Sorry, I had to look over here at my throttles. Let's bring those back. Alright, so we're hand flying now. I don't know why it didn't want to descend at first. The trim's a little funky on this sometimes, I think.
1,000.
Alright, let's not get too slow here. Looking pretty good. So far, it's not too choppy. There's a tiny, I can see a tiny bit of stutter. I don't know if you can, but I definitely can see a tiny bit of stutter. It's a little obnoxious, but... Okay, we're drifting to the left a little here. Okay, so the VOR is actually off to the right side of the runway there. That's why we were lined up to the right a little bit. Okay, we're definitely getting a little high here. Come on down. There's our VREF speed. Bring it just a touch more throttle. See, this thing acts a little funky to me. We're still just a little high. Not too bad though. There we go. There's glide slope. Oh, that was a chop. I don't want that. That needs to stop right now.
300.
Looking pretty good. There's the 100 meters of displaced threshold.
200.
See if we can stop this one. Some guys come in much lower than this, don't they?
100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
We're down. There we go. Okay, we got those brakes on, the auto brakes on 3. Reversers are on full, looking good. There's 60 knots. Alright. Not too shabby, huh? It's a short runway. We obviously had some issues here. Yeah. Well, it seems like I'm always having some kind of issues, aren't I? Alright, I think we gotta go to the end here and turn around. You can see this is the scenery I was talking about. Let's go and bring those flaps up. I didn't actually read through the checklist, but I did kind of go through it when I was talking about bringing gear down and stuff like that. I got so focused on getting everything right that I forgot to read the checklist off to you guys. So I apologize for that, but I did actually go through the checklist. That was, you know, when I said, okay, we're bringing the gear down, let's go ahead and turn on the spoiler, or arm the spoilers, or the speed brakes, whatever you want to call them. Here's our turnaround point, obviously. When I was going through all of that, obviously, that's the checklist item. So the way it works, it's a flow, right? Hold on, make sure I'm not gonna take this thing off the runway here. It's a flow, and then once you've completed the flow, then you go down the checklist to make sure you didn't miss anything. That's kind of how it works. So I did go down the checklist. I just didn't read it off because I was a little too focused on other things. So my apologies for that. I hope nobody's going to lose any sleep over it. But that's going to wrap it up. That is our flight into St. Martin. Love this place. Beautiful scenery here. This is a really good scenery. It's a tiny bit choppy, but it's not that bad. We were able to land. We only had one real stutter there. I don't know why it's pressing so hard on my system. It really shouldn't be, because I've got a really good system here. But for whatever reason, it's pressing pretty hard on it. It is what it is. But that's your DME Arc approach. Good times. We've now flown into St. Martin, so we can say we've done that, and this sets us up for our next 2 flights. We're going to do a flight over to St. Bart's, because you got to do St. Bart's from here. It's only a 10-minute flight from here. And then why not go to Saba? Because that's the shortest commercial runway in the world, right? So those are definitely 2 very difficult, dangerous, and unusual approaches. And I got that backwards. It's unusual, difficult, and dangerous approaches. This was our second one. A little unusual, a little difficult because we got a short runway and a large aircraft, but overall, not too bad. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know that I enjoyed this flight, as I enjoy all of them. And that's going to pretty much wrap it up. Not sure there's anything else to say. If you haven't taken an opportunity yet, please subscribe to my channel. We are up, as of today, we are up to 393 subscribers. That is stinking awesome. Let me tell you, thank you, every one of you who has subscribed to my channel. I truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you very much. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please join us. We're trying to get to 500 by the end of the year. That's the goal right now. 500 subscribers by the end of 2015. And then we want to do something special for a celebration. So if you have any ideas for a good celebration, I think I need to be further to the right, but if you have any ideas for a good celebration, please leave them down in the comments. And we're going to do something special when we hit 500 subscribers. Even if we don't hit it by the end of the year, we're going to do something special. So I'm hoping to make that happen. But give us a thumbs up, leave something in the comments down below. Let me know your thoughts. Please keep in mind, this was in no way whatsoever intended to be a tutorial on the PMDG 777. I know that I'm not very good with this aircraft at the moment. I'm very rusty at it. I don't even know if this is a proper parking space. I need a lot of work on my 777. I understand that. Please don't beat me up too bad in the comments. But if you have any suggestions or anything you'd like to say, please feel free to leave it down below. And oh, I almost keep forgetting to do this every time. I have a Facebook page, Captain Mac Facebook page, and a Twitter feed. So if you haven't had an opportunity, do me a favor, hop on over to Facebook, give us a like on that page, and hop on over to Twitter. What do you do on Twitter? You follow somebody on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook, and I also recently started a Patreon channel, which is going to have exclusive content eventually that you will not be able to see on this channel, and that is a subscriber supported channel. So if you're interested in supporting me there, please hop on over. There's a link down below in the show notes. Hop on over to Patreon, support me over there, and look for some exclusive content, including some real-world aviation and real-world flight instruction. Until next time, folks, as always, keep the blue side up unless crossing the Pacific, at which time you are on your own. Have a great day.